Moin Moin und herzlich willkommen zum Towers Trainer-Symposium, dem ersten, was wir so in dieser Form durchführen. Corona-bedingt natürlich online. Beim nächsten Mal oder im nächsten Jahr wollen wir das auch gerne wiederholen und dann vielleicht auch wieder vor Ort starten. Das wäre für uns alle ja schön. Wir sind froh, dass wir das durchführen können. Wir sind froh, dass wir heute Pedro hier haben, der euch einen Inhalt präsentiert. Und zum Ablauf, wir fangen gleich mit der Präsentation an. Ich werde gleich an Pedro übergeben. Wenn ihr Fragen habt, schickt die gerne in den Chat. Wir geben die dann weiter. Ich glaube, das wird den Ablauf vereinfachen, wenn nicht alle durcheinander etwas sagen. Wir haben am Ende aber nochmal eine Runde, wo wir uns austauschen können. Sollten kleine technische Fehler passieren, verzeiht uns das. Heute ist quasi der erste Tag. Und ich würde jetzt an Pedro übergeben. Wie gesagt, Fragen gerne im Chat. Wir sind froh. Schön, dass ihr alle da seid. Pedro, it's up to you. Welcome to the Coaches Clinic. Yeah, it's your turn.
Hello to everyone. Thank you to the Hamburg Towers and to the Hamburg Coaches Association for this opportunity. I think that all of us are living a really difficult and challenging times, and I think that this type of event or activities are really important for everybody. Under this COVID pandemic, during this COVID pandemic, coaches who are working, let's put it like this, at the professional level, I think that we are really lucky to be allowed to work and to keep on coaching and teaching basketball and learning basketball. And I hope that all those coaches who work at the amateur or at the youth level, they keep high motivated, they do not lose the passion and the motivation, even under these circumstances. So I hope that you keep on having this motivation and this will to keep working with basketball. Okay, talking about the presentation, the title of the presentation says how to build up a man-to-man defensive system. Before we got into detail, for me, I want a little bit to talk about the goal that I have with this clinic. First thing, I hope that I'm gonna share with you guys things that not necessary to apply right away into your system, whatever the level that you work is, but at least to show you what we do here in the Hamburg Towers with the first team, because one thing that I always liked whenever I went to a clinic, that it was numerous time, is to see a coach who was saying things that they were doing and not things necessary that they were not doing into the program. Good. From the title, okay, we already can anticipate that we are going to talk about defense, and I think that if you think about the Hamburg Towers, defense is kind of our identity, so I think it's a good reason to start about that, okay? Please feel free at any time to ask any questions about any topic or any detail that we have in the presentation. Raise your hand or wherever you're doing this online version, and then we have no problem to interact during the presentation. All right? Well, first thing, I would like to talk about a little bit about basic philosophy. I think that there are a lot of things that we can talk on defense in basketball, but for me, the main two different, or in order to put this presentation together, it was about to talk about defensive individual fundamentals, or on the other side, to talk about defensive tactical adjustment. For me, if we talk about defensive individual fundamentals, we are going to be more habits orientated and how to build up our basic habits on defense. On the other hand, if we talk more about defensive tactical adjustment, we have to talk more about scouting, game plan, and some advanced adjustment that at the professional level might be important or quite important, but I don't think that necessarily at the youth level are the key. Actually, I think that the key or the most important thing in the youth basketball is how to implement your system with the basic habits. And I expect that most of the coaches who are in the other side of the camera are working at the amateur level, youth level. So this is why my talk is going about talking about habits. All right. Overall, for me, the most important thing is not to make every week a great defensive adjustment based on the game plan, based on the strength of the opponent or the weakness of the opponent. For me, the most important thing is to have one system that is execute pretty well, and from there to build up and to make a small adjustment, but not to base your defense every single week on a different game plan due to the scouting. All right. Good. So as I said, we are going to be orientated in defensive, individual defensive fundamentals. Then before we go into the next slide, or first fundamental, the most important thing when we put a defensive system together is how we organize. And I'm going to explain how we do it in order to show you step by step the different elements of our defensive system. First thing that we do when we put a defensive system together is to think about our goals on defense. Second, we will talk about our defensive principles. Third, about the fundamentals, and we explain later on the difference between them. And then the fourth thing is, or the last thing, is the absolutes or the non-negotiable elements. Talking about the goals is what we want to accomplish as a defensive team that we do not allow to the opponent. And the first thing that we do not want to allow to the opponent is no fast break points. And the main reason is because the efficiency of those points is the highest one. So we want to minimize easy baskets to the opponent. And for that, we have to talk about transition defense if we want to stop fast break points to the opponent. Second goal is to minimize as much as possible second chance point, and for that the defensive element related to that goal is the defensive rebound and the box shot. And the third goal that we have is no wide open catch and shoot or no wide open spot up threes. And the element related to that is the close out. You can see three goals only, and because that three different defensive elements. So actually we could already, just having the goals, to start talking or to start work about defense, but I do not like just to work or to build our defensive system based on our goal, because we want to have organic defensive system that everything is connected, or every element is connected to each other. And because that, before we go, we want to break down and to talk about our principles, right? We have as well three principles, like we have three goals, and we use the principle in order to build up all of our different elements. And those three principles have to be in everything that we do in our defense, okay? First principle is to shrink the floor, to collapse, okay? And we do not want the opponent to score anything in the paint. This is what we call shrink the floor equal nothing in the paint. When do we shrink the floor? For example, in transition defense element, in close-out situation, in dribble drive. So we want to pack the defensive area in order to collapse the offense. Second principle is the communication. We need to play with high level of communication in order to make our players to trust the system. We truly believe that it's really difficult to have a system without communication, because then the trust over the whole system is not gonna be there. Example, when we use our communication in pick and roll defense, in a scramble defense, in post-up defense, every element have to have a terminology or a keyword in order to be everybody on the same page of the book. And the third principle, we are a team that like to play with a lot of activity and with a lot of aggressiveness. So for that, we need to play with multiple effort. Nowadays, I think that it's not enough to play 18, 20 seconds defense. We need to accomplish to play 24-second defense. It means that we have to finish the possession. When do we see situation that we play or we apply the multiple effort principle, like in a 50-50 basketball, in a loose basketballs, in rebounding situation, and so on. So overall, here you have a picture of our 3 principles. So remember, we have 3 goals and 3 principles, which are shrink the floor, communication, and multiple effort. And we use those principles in all the different elements that we have in our defensive system. Please feel free if you guys have any question during the presentation. And if you remember, the 4 different categories that we have, that we set in order to put a defensive system together, was the first one was the goals, second one was the principle, third one, the fundamentals. And pretty much the same, 3 fundamentals only. First one is the ball pressure. We are a team that we want to make always impact on the ball, and we want to have aggressiveness on the ball. For that, for the ball pressure, we have to talk about 3 different details, which are the position of the body with the ball, the distance with the ball, and the footwork, okay? We are gonna start using some videos of our practices in order to help you to understand what we are talking about. As you are gonna see, the drills that we use are really basics, and maybe you are not gonna see anything new. My goal is not to bring here new drills. My goal is to show you, as I said, what I do, what we do, and especially to show you the basics, because I truly believe that the key of anything that we do in basketball is to execute the basics to the perfection, all right? So do not expect any crazy drill, do not expect any fancy thing, just the basics, but focus on the details, because for me, the details are the most important thing in anything that we do in basketball. Good. Let's start with the video, and then we are gonna go through the different details that we have here. Okay. As you can see there, the drill is ball pressure, stationary. We put 6 players along the partner up along the shot line. And as you can see, there is 1 player with the basketball and 1 player on defense. Well, starting from the first point, our position on ball defense is always in front of the basketball. We do not play weak defense, pushing to the weak hand. We don't push to one side or to the other. We are not a no-middle team. Our defense on the ball is to have always our nose in front of the basketball, okay? And then we have to talk about the distance, how much distance we give to the basketball. We have to talk to be in a touch distance but it's not the same when the basketball is above the shoulder, where we are really close to the opponent, because we think that when the basketball is above the shoulder, or the shoulder level, the main action that the ball handler can have is the shooting action. This is why we are extremely close to the ball. But when the ball handler brings the ball to the hips or below the hips level, then we give 1 arm distance, 1 meter distance, in order to protect the drive, to protect the penetration, because we think that when the ball is at that level, the ball handler most likely is going to look for a penetration. And then the third aspect that we have to talk on ball defense has to be the footwork, how to put our feet. There are two different philosophies, feet parallel or one leading foot and one foot behind. We are more into this second one. We don't want feet parallel because we think that if we have feet parallel, then we are weak in both sides. Going left and going right, we have to execute the drop step technique, and we want to have one leading foot to have impact on the basketball and to be ready for the first slide that we dictate a little bit, or we are ready to execute the first slide. Let's click on the video, and I think it will help you. Well, you see there, just players mirroring the basketball, and depending where the ball is, having different distance with the ball handler. Please pay attention that when the ball is above the shoulder, the distance is extremely close, extremely short, and when the ball is below the hips, then they give 1 arm distance, 1 meter distance in order to protect the penetration. And this is one of our drills, just to introduce our ideas how to guard the ball when the ball handler has the ball in his hand. Nothing more, but we really want to make clear to our players how is our positioning on the ball. Bien. Using the same setup, we make one step into the progression. As you saw, the players didn't even dribble. Then the next progression is mirror the ball plus to stop the first dribble of the ball handler. So the drill is pretty much the same. And why we put the players along the sideline and we do not put the players or align the players in a scoring areas or in a scoring situation? It's a defensive drill. It's the beginning of the precision, if I'm not mistaken. And we want to give confidence to the defensive players, to the defensive system of what we are doing. So because this, they don't have even to worry or to concern if his opponent is going to score. There is no option to score to the opponent. We are playing east to west, sideline to sideline. So they just have to be focused to execute the fundamental the right way and not to be concerned if the opponent score or not score. This is the reason why we align the player at the sideline. Talking about teaching methodology, I think it's really important to know the goals of your drill and to give the feedback depending on the goals of your drill, and not jumping left and right depending on how you see. So second progression, as you can see, ball above the shoulder, distance, and then it's the same drill just with one dribble to be ready for the lateral explosion to have a good footwork to stop the first dribble. It's clear that we don't do everything perfect or pretty good. We are jumping, we are not having a short step and a quick step technique. But as I said, it's beginning of the season, beginning of the preseason, a lot of things to work on it. But the most important thing is that we are always in front of the basket. Bien. Good. We keep on talking about ball pressure. First two drills, or actually the first drill was from sideline to sideline. We apply the fundamental of ball pressure or ball positioning, but now with the element of full court defense, okay? You're gonna see a one-on-one defense We want the players to be focused on putting a lot of pressure on the ball, but since it's a one-on-one full court, we have to manipulate the option of the offense. In this drill, the offense cannot finish all the way to the basket, they cannot finish all the way into the paint. Why? Because we want to give the trust to the defensive player that even when he put a lot of pressure and he get beat, he has a chance to recover, to get in front of the ball handler in order to contest a three-pointer or a mid-range jumper. And to give, I repeat myself, the confidence that the pressure on the ball is the most important thing. Start at the free throw line pretty much, with ball positioning on defense, and then live on the dribble. As you can see, the defender here, Max Di Leo, putting a lot of pressure, creating deflection, and the goal is always to be in front of the basketball. Once you get beat, like it happened here, we do not want to play any defense when we are not in front of the basketball. Our goal has to be sprinting and to get in front of the ball as soon as possible. And remember, the ball handler in this case cannot go all the way to the basket. He has to finish out of the paint in order to give more confidence to the defender. And you can see here, jumper, contested, mid-range shot. Good ball pressure, one-on-one, in front of the basketball, then contested the jumper, right? So one-on-one with a full court element. Then, second fundamental is about the passing line. And with that, we like the terminology to be in a high triangle. And the same aspect that we talk about the ball pressure, positioning, distance, and footwork, we have to discuss and we have to talk about the passing line, okay? The position. We could be in two positions. We could be between ball and my man when we are off the ball, or we could be between my man and the basket. We play between ball and man in order to be in a high triangle and not in a flat triangle as we had in the principle. So the position has to be between ball and your man. The distance, we like the terminology 1/3 to 1/3, to be 1/3 distance with your man and 2/3 to the ball in order to be ready for faking to the ball and recover if they play with the pass to your man. And then the footwork, we could be in an open stance or in a closed stand. We are in an open stand in order to have a better footwork preparation for any action that we could do, especially affecting the ball handler, okay? With the footwork, when we are off the ball on defense, we do not teach slide steps. We teach cross step into running steps. We truly believe that sliding nowadays is too slow in the speed of this game, and we want to be as quick as possible off the basket when we are playing defense off the basketball, and then this is why we use the technique cross step into running technique. I think that we have here a video. Yes, for the passing line, 1-on-1 plus 1. Again, really simple drill, but just to help the player to understand the fundamental. Here we see in this case TJ Shorts playing on the ball. Mike Kotsar is the ball handler. Then they play they play with the pass, in this case with the coach, and we can see here how TJ Shorts jump from the ball towards the ball and not here towards the ring. This is the main difference that you have to decide how you want to do it. And then we can see here 1/3 to 1/3 distance with an open stance. It's true that here maybe it's a little bit in a close stand, but generally speaking, we are in an open stand. We like to tell our players that they should be touching the passing line, not with his body, but with his hands, in order to play big, to show numbers, and to affect the passing lines with I repeat myself, with the hands, not with the body, because then we think that is too aggressive or over-aggressive. into ball defense, jumping to the ball again. You see there the high triangle into one-on-one, being in front of the basketball. Very simple drill. Same thing on the other side, on ball pressure, with the pass, jump to the ball, high triangle, hands on the passing line, and then one-on-one, one more time, repetitions to memorize and to get the basic fundamental done. As you can see, bigs, guard, interchangeable. When we are in precision, we do not like to break down or to make big difference between, especially on defense, between big or 5 point guards. Everybody has to be ready to guard the basketball at any position of or in the basketball floor. And okay, we talk about the first fundamental, ball pressure. The second fundamental is the passing line, and the third fundamental is the ball line, or to get at the ball level, okay? To make the definition of what is the ball line concept or fundamental, it's just a parallel line to the baseline at the level of the basketball. As simple as that, just a parallel line to the baseline at the level of the basketball, okay? Yeah. Video here, yes, 3-on-3. Good. First, before we click on the video, you see here on ball fundamental, ball pressure. Then we have 2 more guys for the 3-on-3, and then here we see passing lane, high triangles, passing lane, high triangles. Maybe a little bit higher in order to touch the passing line. I repeat myself with the hands. Okay, it's a 3-on-3 full court. But offense play in a cooperation mode, defense play in a pretty much competition mode, okay? So one more time, we manipulate the option of the offense in order to build our defense. Here, ball handing by the ball handler, and boom. On the pass, in this case to Max DiLeo, here TJ Shorts, he's not in front of the basketball, have to make an effort as soon as possible, as quick as possible, to play, to establish again the position in front of the basketball. And you see here, Terry Allen, who was the defender of the ball handler at the very beginning, he doesn't play depending on the action of his opponent. He goes quickly to see there to establish the ball line, the ball level position, okay? So here he's setting, he's loading the basketball, aligned parallel to the baseline at the ball level, okay? And Mike Kotsar in his high triangle between ball and man. It's a drill, maybe a backcourt violation, it's not our concern. Ball goes back to the ball handler, and again, ball pressure with our high triangles. They play with the pass, and again, one more time, Terry Allen, I think that you can see that pretty well, sprinting into the ball level, into the ball line. There you see a drill, 3-on-3, full court, that we use to apply this fundamental. One more time. It's the same. Yes, I think so. So the video is twice. Okay. Yes. No problem. Let's see. Next one. So those were our 3 fundamentals. If you have any question, please do not hesitate. And I don't know if you remember, first thing was goal, second thing was principle, third thing was the fundamental in order how to organize our defensive system. The fourth thing that we have, and maybe the thing that we are gonna not put a lot of emphasis, are gonna be our absolutes or non-negotiables. We have 5 of them, okay? First one is transition defense, which is related to our very first goal, no fast break point from the opponent. Second absolute that we have are the closeout defense, which is related to the no wide open threes to the opponent. Third one is positioning, how are we gonna play defense of the ball. Fourth one is verticality in order to contest layup at the rim. And the fifth one is the defensive rebound, the box out, which is related to our second goal, no second chance point to the opponent. It's not my idea to go through all of our absolutes. We are gonna just break down a little bit two of them that are gonna be the closeouts and the positioning, but I think that you can have a good idea of our philosophy, how we work with our absolutes on defense, right? You don't have to have these absolutes. We take this that for us, whenever we finish a game, we have a list of our absolutes, how many times we didn't accomplish, with what player didn't accomplish, and at the end of the day, we have a summary after games, after practice, how good, how bad we were in our defensive absolutes. As I said, we are going to focus on closeouts and positioning. First, absolute closeout. There are multiple ways to play closeout defense, okay? We want to make mainly two different, and it's going to be depending on if the shooter had the basketball already in his hands or the basketball is not yet in the hands of the shooter. In the first case, we use the terminology close out to the touch is when the shooter already has his basketball, okay? And again, we have to talk in close out about footwork, positioning, and distance. And here the footwork is as well very related with the running technique, the step technique, how we approach into the close out with a shooter, okay? We are gonna use the video in order to talk about this detail. And again, the drill that you are gonna see is maybe the most basic drill that you can think about the close out. But I repeat myself, we truly believe on the philosophy, less is more, and be details orientated and not so much tactical orientated. We are not even playing live. We use the coaches in order to have the trust of the defensive player on the closeout that we're going to teach. And I think here, actually, I'm using the explanation. The first steps in the closeout, we want to have a sprint steps, long steps, but as we approach to the shooter in our closeout to the touch, we want to raise our hand, not only to raise our hand when the shooter is already into the shooting action, even before, in order to dictate and to have impact on the shooting action. And we have to change our footwork technique, because the closer we get, the shorter step and the quicker step we need to have. And with the position of the basketball is, again, we do not make different if the closeout is on the middle or if the closeout is at the 45. We want to have closeout in front of the basketball with our hand up and our feet not parallel in order to have lateral explosion to one side and to the other side. Please ask the guys if they just want to see the videos going, or they want me to stop like I'm doing step by step, because maybe I'm repeating myself a little bit. Just let me know. Maybe they feel more comfortable to watch the whole video and then I talk. Just if some of them give you some feedback.
Wie die meisten wahrscheinlich auch schon verstanden haben, ihr könnt mal kurz in den Chat schreiben, ob ihr lieber wollt, einmal das Video komplett durchlaufen zu lassen und Pedro kommentiert hinterher, oder einfach so, wie er es aktuell schon gemacht hat, das Video laufen zu lassen, immer wieder zu stoppen und Kommentare reinzubringen.
Thing right there, we are talking about the lateral explosion. We ask our players on a closeout defense, if the shooter doesn't take the shot and use the dribble, do not get beat hip by hip. Give me 1.5 meters to your left, 1.5 meters to your right, but do not get beat straight to the basket, because then our defensive system cannot react. So we have to take away the shot, the catch and shoot, plus give us 1.5 meters to the right, 1.5 meters to the left with your lateral explosion. Here is Hans Brasse. I think the guy who execute the first closeouts. See there, boom, sprint step, quick step, hand up to the touch, into ball positioning defensively. We repeat maybe what we did in the very first day of defensive practice, and so on. And the coaches doesn't even shoot the basketball. Again, step by step. Okay.
We got a question right here, so just let me go through. Do you have a favorite hand for closeout, depending on shooter side of the court?
Say again the question.
Do you have a favorite hand for the closeout, depending on the shooter or the side of the court?
Generally speaking, if the shooter is right hand, we would like our defender to closing out with the opposite hand. It means with the left hand. But I have to say that my experience on the last years, we couldn't accomplish that in a consistent basis because some players feel more comfortable always having the same hand up. So I have to say that in this aspect, we give a little bit of freedom to our players. But the most important thing is that they always have to have one hand up. They are free to choose which hand, but the most important thing is one hand up. And we are not, how do you say, dictating exactly the hand, but we suggest to have always the opposite hand of the shooter. Okay.
One more question we have right here in the chat. On ball pressure, if the dribbler makes back dribbling, how do you want the ball defender to react?
Very good question. We said that we want to have impact on the basketball and we want to be aggressive team. So when the ball for any reason go backwards, just because the dribble of the ball handler or is a loose basketball, we really put a lot of emphasis that the defender react right away, getting on the basketball, to apply ball pressure on the ball handler as quick as possible. So we do not expect from the defender of the ball handler to wait. We want actually to go for the steal as long as possible, and if not, as soon as the offensive player pick up the ball or have control against of the basketball, to be there to keep applying ball pressure. I hope that I could answer the question in the right direction. Okay? Okay, some more repetition of closeouts with first or second dribble and connecting with the principle being always in front of the basketball. Ball positioning, coaches that don't dribble, when they dribble, again, in front of the ball. 5 men closing out at the 3-point line. See, please, the activity on the hands on the ball, depending if the ball is above the shoulder, below the hips, they change their distance into 1 dribble, 2 dribble, lateral exposing. Good. And, okay, that was close out to the touch. And we mentioned already, when the ball is not in the shooter hand, but we are executing a close out, we call close out to the gap. It means that we are not closing out straight to the potential shooter. We are more closing out into the space, into the gap. Okay? And you can see there, close out to the gap equal when the basketball is not yet in the shooter hand. Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
We have 2 more questions here. First one is from Leif Miller. On the high triangle, how do you avoid to get beat backdoor all the time?
Yes. We start talking, first of all, we know that from the high triangle, one thing that you can give up when we are not playing together the defensive system could be the backdoor. The first way that we try to minimize the backdoor from the opponent is with the ball pressure, because in order to play backdoor or successful backdoor, you have to deliver a good pass. When the ball handler is under tremendous pressure, those backdoor passes which are going into a small spacing are not so easy to deliver. So the first thing is the ball pressure that, as we said, is one of our most important fundamental. And the second thing, of course, we teach as well the guy who is in the high triangle to keep the view of the ball and his opponent. And when he sees that this is a backdoor, we teach footwork in order to minimize the pass. But the backdoor is not taken away just by these two players. It's taken away from the last defender, no matter he's in the corner behind, when the opposite corner, in order to keep be capable to keep on playing defense as a system. I think that we don't have exactly a drill how we got a backdoor, but later on, maybe from one drill, you can have an idea what we are talking about when we talk with a drill with 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 half court. I hope that later on with a video, I can help you more to understand the way that we do it, okay?
We got a second question as well about closeout. Do you have a special rule for closeout on corner three-point shoot?
Yes. 3-point shot from the corner is one of the most effective shots in basketball. We do not like to our players to fly by. We want to have hot closeout. The terminology is hot. We apply in a good shooter in order to take away, but with the distance, having a really short distance on the closeout. But we do not fly by in a three-pointer or on top of the key three-point shot, either from the corner or from the top of the key. Why? There are different philosophies, and there are a lot of things that they fly by in order to make the shooter to play with the dribble and to change the catch and shoot from the corner. We always want to establish and to play with 5 defenders. And we think that if we fly by for a piece of a second, the offense is in advantage to play 5 versus 4 or in a better position if they take the shot from the corner for the potential offensive rebound. Because if we fly by or if we jump on the shot from the corner, most of the time our defender will end up out of the court and he's not ready to box out. This is why, as I said, our defensive system has to be organic and to play close out plus box out. So we always have to play in front of the shooter, contested the shot with one hand on 2 hands up, when the basketball release the ball of the hands of the shooter. Okay? Good. Welcome. So where we are now with close out to the touch, to the gap, my bad. So it's pretty much the same drill. The only different, let me go backwards. Yeah, close out to the gap. It's pretty much the same drill, but before the defender was throwing the basketball straight to the shooter in order to execute the close out to the touch. Now the defender, which here max delay on the block, is passing to the coach. He knows that I'm gonna play extremely quick with the pass, but he doesn't close out straight to the shooter. He close out to the space, to the gap. I repeat myself, in order to be always in a position of the basketball in a high triangle, and from there to take away the shot. Multiple efforts, now faking on the dribble, and one-on-one defense. One more time. Now here, Sab Calverson maybe is not the proper example. He should be closing out more this distance, not so much to my position. Too much of a high triangle, playing with hands, with fakes into one-on-one. So I hope that the difference between close out to the touch and close out to the gap is clear. More close out drills, close out to the gap, positioning, is the same one, right? The same video, technologies, everything is good. Let's watch it one more time. Multiple effort, high triangle, faking and recover, contested shot. Yeah. Good. So this is pretty much 2 basic drills that we do in order to land to close out to the touch, close out to the gap. let's focus now in positioning our defense with not only positioning on the ball, as well off the ball, that already talking about our defensive fundamentals, we mentioned the high triangle. Defensive triangle, boom. Remember the rule of 1/3 to the ball, 2/3 to your opponent in the high triangle. 2-on-2 drill, very basic. Closeouts into off-ball positioning. Here, TJ Shorts and Cameron Taylor will be the defender, Sad Cadverson, Terry Allen, the offensive player. Just a basic drill. I call this drill 2-on-2 Martinez. Pass, pass. TJ Short will execute close out to the touch to Sad Cadverson, Cameron Taylor, depending on the speed of Sad Cadverson playing with the pass, will execute close out to the touch if Terry Allen has the basketball, or close out to the gap if Sad Cadverson is still holding the basketball in his hand. To the touch, TJ Short, hands up, sprinting Cameron Taylor to the touch, because when he's recovering, the ball is already in Terry Allen's hands. And then they play again with the pass. You see Cameron Taylor jumping to the ball, being a high triangle into 1/3, 2/3 positioning. On the dribble, with dribble drive penetration, we will talk later on about that, but you can see inside hand towards the dribble, outside hand toward the pass. In this case, left hand has impact on the dribble in the early drive of Sad Cadverson, right hand into the pass. Inside hand, outside hand. Same thing with TJ Shorts. Into 1-on-1. One more rep here, maybe. Yes. Pass, pass, close out to the touch, close out to the gap. Mike Kotsar. The basket maybe we cannot see extremely well. Now Jamal. And there you can see a backdoor. Let's play this clip again, because it was one of the questions. No, my mistake. Here we are. Please, I just want to answer a little bit better. And the backdoor question. Bang. The next rep. As we mentioned, we know that we could get beat with a backdoor. Boom. Here, Jamal Smithers is in a high triangle. The problem there is that his positioning is not 1/3 to 2/3. His positioning was pretty much 50% to the basketball, 50% to his opponent. So this is why the space for the backdoor was extremely open. Second thing, maybe we didn't even discuss that at this point of the precision, the footwork, he has to be ready to change his footwork. And as I said, basketball is not played on 2-on-2, basketball is played on 5-on-5. It's true that now there is a new version of basketball, 3-on-3, but I'm not coaching at that level, I'm coaching 5-on-5. So we need to involve all the 5 defenders, and then the defender on the weak side, they are not attached to their opponent. If the ball is here, they have to be ready to collapse or to jump into the back door in order to force, in this case, Cameron Taylor, to play one more time with the pass and not to finish easy at the rim. For example, here is 2-on-2, but let's say the Hans Brasse should be in a position to make a jump switch if necessary with Jamal. But backdoor is a topic in this high triangle positioning of the ball. Yeah. Making progression in our positioning system, 2-on-2 plus 2 extra. Ball is here in coach Miguel Zapata. Positioning Terry Allen 1/3 to 2/3. And maybe you agree with me, guys, that he's over aggressive. Maybe he's too much in a 50-50. Just to hold, not good with hands on his knee. He has to show from the very beginning his hands in order to show his numbers. and activity from the defense. Ball is swung coach to coach. We jump in a high triangle. Coach will start with dribble. And remember, we are working on defense. So we force the defense to create some habits, even overdo or over-exaggerate, in order to make them for good and to bring those habits into the system of the player. And the drill here, we understand that we are over-helping, in this case with Justus, and we are letting open Brace a little bit too much, but we want to create a jump switch or a run and jump in the half court, because one of our ideas or philosophy on defense, no matter what happens, do not stop running. And we can see this in this 2-on-2 plus 2 extra. Terry Allen there on a baseline drive from Henry Dresser, if I'm not mistaken, support or cooperate with Justus Hollatz in order to take away the layups. Remember, shrink the floor, nothing in the paint was our first principle. So Terry Allen called that a jump. We execute here a jump switch, because only these two players, the two guys who are on the corners, can play live. Coaches just cooperate, okay? So Justus Hollatz, as soon as he's beat and Terry Allen communicate the jump switch, he runs into the next opponent. And again, no close out to the touch, close out to the gap to keep building the high triangles. One more time, ball is swung, ball is reversed. Terry Allen, extremely high triangle positioning, a little bit too much. It's not our concern in precision. We are just creating habits, over-aggressive on the dribble, giving up an easy catch and go in order to work in a second jump switch. Okay, here there is a deflection. After the second jump switch, players go live. So here we are working on positioning and on activity. And remember, no matter what, do not stop running. Find the next opponent. In the same direction, we build progression, okay, from the 2-on-2 plus 2, here 3-on-3 plus extra, okay? Coach is the extra player, offensive player, 2 at the corners, 1 at the highest slot, and see the extremely high triangles of our positioning. And as you can see, it's not by accident. Jordan Swing, playing with hands, showing numbers, Terry Allen, and Justus Hollatz, again with his hands on the knee. It's a thing that we have to develop, we have to improve from the very beginning, shrinking the floor, eating space, playing big. Skip pass, ball pressure, triangle, triangle. And please notice the players should not slide when they are off the ball on defense. They have to cross a step into run, like Terry Allen execute there. Faking, faking, dribble drive baseline. There is no extra defender in the backside. We have to execute a jump switch, 2-man game. There. Find the next opponent. Second jump switch, but now the defense, what it is? There is a player behind. So Jordan Swing should, actually it's a little bit too late, should take away this corner pass. We don't want this corner pass in order to take away as well the 3-pointer from the corner that you guys asked before. And then Justus Hollatz, instead of to go to the corner, he has to find the next one, in this case, TJ Shorts. We are playing a scramble defense. Remember, no matter what, do not stop running. Of course, often has multiple, huge advantage just because the spacing, 3-on-3 with the whole court. But this is the way that we work on do not stop running no matter what, drills like this one. Then 2-on-2 plus 2 extra. We showed you 3-on-3 plus extra. Now let's have a little bit of a big picture of our defense, just with 4-on-4, with a popular drill like the shell drill. And we like to use this drill pretty much in every week. It's one of our basics, one of our go-to drill. And we have different versions, different progression. We want to show you the most basic one. I think that we cannot go too much time, but let's try to accomplish that you see a basic progression of our shell drill. Question at this point? Okay. Shell drill dribble? No, we have to go one more side. Okay. The very first progression is 4-on-4 shell, tight progression. We space the players, not in a, let's put it like this, regular scoring area. We space the player with elbow, elbow, block, block, in order to help the defense. And as you can see, the distance is extremely short. And we are working on ball pressure, triangle, showing numbers, playing big, tight triangle position. And no sliding, running with the ball. Not perfect, but just the basics. And it's one drill that we do, for example, for 14 seconds. You can choose different methodology. But just to review one more time, the basic on a bigger scale, on a bigger picture. We space up the floor. We go now into corners, slot, okay, in order to challenge more the defense. And now we allow the offense to use the dribble. Than before, we didn't even allow the dribble. Excuse me. Same principles, same fundamentals, ball pressure, positioning, do not slide, sprinting. As you can see here, Sad Cadverson sprinting to recover. He should recover to the gap, not to the touch. Very good. In front of the basketball, good. Keep on working, positioning at every dribble. At any time that the offense tries to attack the paint, we stand and recover. Here there is a mistake with the timing. Good. And as you can see, they don't even play live. It's just 14 seconds of muscle memory, footwork memory to implement the basic rule, the basic habits. Good. Tight shell, dribble drive shell. Now a sample of down screen. And you can see we didn't talk about a lot of tactical situation. This is one of them, but we are going to cover the down screen action like with basic or general principle, not talking about any scouting or any strength or weakness of the opponent. Using the shell formation, ball is entry pass, we jump to the ball, and then we play through, okay? In order to keep our positioning with the triangle. One more time, ball pressure, positioning through down screen in order to be there. Multiple down screen to repeat over and over again. Okay, that was actually a really good example that we didn't do well, because that was a loose basketball, a deflection, and here Mike Kotza doesn't react. He should get into Dileos in order to put ball pressure as soon as Dileo catch again the basketball, and not waiting for the ball handler to establish again a new position offensively. Okay, now 14 seconds, and now we allow them to play live with a dribble drive motion offensively. So as you can see, step by step, progression per progression, we don't try to play at the very beginning a lot of things, just focus on the basic details. One more time down screen, I think it's the same video. Yeah. Hollands get caught a little bit there, one-on-one. Good. DHO means dribbling handoff or handoff. We are going to show you how we guard this element using the same drill, the same formation. And really important, as I said, the defensive system has to be organic. Elements have to be connected. I think it's really difficult when your pick and roll defense has to apply different rules of your on-ball defense, or when your handoff defense applies different rule than on your ball, because then you can get caught. And believe me, it's really difficult to earn the trust of the players. Is every different element, we have different rules that they are not necessarily on the same direction, on the same line. Here, with the DHO, dribbling handoff actions, we want to keep our principle of ball pressure. Here, the ball handler defender is on the ball. Of the ball guy, one pass away is in the high triangle. And when the DHO is going to take place, we gel under the guy who is off the ball, in order that on-ball defender in the very last second swipe aggressive to the ball into the strong side. As DHO. We're going to see here one more DHO, just to hold us on the ball. Sad Cadverson at this point, should the DHO taking place, he will gel under in order to give the signal to just to hold us to slide to the basketball, to create deflection, and then quick under from the off-ball defender, Sad Cadverson. Okay, the basket doesn't allow us. Maybe one more DHO, yes. TJ shorts on the ball, under, swipe on the ball, and again, ball pressure. One more time. They repeat over and over. Into live dribble drive, closing out, post out. Okay? Bien. Yes?
So we have one question. You mentioned transition defense as a goal. In which order would you go about building the defense? Transition defense to half court, or the other way around? Like transition first or half court first?
Okay. First thing, transition defense is not one of our goals. One of our goals is to stop fast break from the opponent. How? With our transition defense. Transition defense is one of our elements, of our absolutes. Okay. We start first building up our half-court defense, and then when we have the basics rule of our hardcore defense, we start with the transition defense, which just a slide or a quick notice. The first rules in our transition defense is no layups, and for that we have to build what we call rim ball wall. Rim protection, stop the ball up high, and to build up a wall in order to minimize the one-on-one coast to coast, the one-on-one downhill. But first, we build up the half-court defense. Second, the transition defense. Well, before we go into the next slide about methodology. For me, in terms of teaching methodology, there are different if we are working at the professional level or at the youth level, with the young guys. With the professional level, we like to start the players to understand the big picture, the main rules, the main ideas quickly, and then to break down part or piece by piece, step by step, all the elements in order to finish again with the big picture. In my opinion, at the youth level, I think that the methodology should be more step by step, piece by piece, adding pieces from one-on-one, one-on-one plus extra, two-on-two, two-on-two plus extra, in order to end up into the 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, and not necessary to start from the very beginning with the whole picture. Okay, this is one appreciation or one thing that I would like to mention about the difference of teaching methodology in the youth and in the professional level. Okay, and before we finish, one thing that we did here with the towers is to keep a track of our defensive efficiency, okay, and activity. For that, I want to show you a regular stat sheet that you guys have access in the website of the league. Every coach, at the end of the game, we get this stat sheet, and to notice that you actually got a lot of information with these stats, but only a couple of items related to the defense, which are the steals and the defensive rebound, but not so much, okay? Maybe we could discuss with the personal fouls and then charges, no charges, but generally speaking, just two aspects in this sheet related to the defense, the steals and the defensive rebound. And we think that this is really poor and doesn't give us enough information about our execution on the defensive end in terms of activity and efficiency. This is the reason why I take this efficiency evaluation from the Spanish national team, from Sergio Escariolo, and we track our defensive efficiency in every game, okay? And I just want to show you the sheets that we use, okay? First of all, of course, we break down every player, and then we want to track the contested shots that we want to difference when we contest shot at the ring, that we call verticality, or when we contest shot at the three-point line, especially on scramble defense, in order to minimize the spot up. Deflections, steals, charges, and violation. Violation can be 5-second violation in dead ball, or when the offensive player pick up the basketball and don't play with the pass. 8-second violation in order to cross the front court from the offensive team, or 24-second violation of possession. And what we do here is to keep a track of how many times each player execute one of the action. Here in this game, it was versus Frankfurt. TJ Shorts, for example, execute one verticality, like Terry Allen as well, and then the contested three. And as you can see, there is a number on the right, 15. 15 is just the valuation, the number that we give to the action, okay? 15 for the verticality, 15 points, 15 for a contested three. To create deflection, we give 25 points, and to create a steal, we give 50, because we value even more the steal than the deflection. Charges, 75 points, and then whenever our team execute a violation into the opponent team, we give 50 points to all the 5 players who are on the court. Long story short, at the end we got a total number from each player, but that total number maybe is not 100% true, or we have to consider the playing time in order to give an average, because a player who plays 10 minutes cannot produce as many actions defensively or as much efficiency than a player who plays 35 minutes. This is why we create the average depending on the playing time. So we have a ranking after each game on players who create most efficiency or more activity on defense, okay? Every game is different, but when you keep a track for 10, 15, or 20 games, you have tendency in that aspect. So this is pretty much the presentation. I want to stay into the time that they gave us, and I don't want to take all your time. Before I finish, and listening if you guys have any question, I want to thank you one more time, your time, okay, the Hamburg Towers and the Hamburg Coaches Association for this activity, and of course, Scotty, who is a coach here in our organization, who helped me in order to put this presentation together, okay? So please, guys, if you have any question about any topic that we discussed, feel free to ask.
Yeah, first of all, also thanks to you for the presentation. We have a question from Philip. How often do you train with your team?
How often
do you train with your team?
How often do we practice?
How often do you practice?
Yeah, it depends. Thank you for the question. It depends on the week. When we have 1 or 2 games, generally speaking, we have 1 game a week because we do not play international. But I think that this season is a very special season due to the circumstances that we have with the COVID. We want to minimize the contact of the players going in and out. This is why after our pre-season, most likely we practice every morning. So if we have a week of 6, a regular week, we have 5 or 6 sessions if we count the shoot-around session on a game day. But in terms of team practice in the evening, we do not have team practice. We execute every morning our team practice. And it's in the evening when the players have extra workouts or individual sessions in order to keep working in their game.
Okay, second question. Do you track the defensive stats live in the game or afterwards during video session?
This advanced defensive stat that we show you, we do it due to our personnel in the staff. We do it after the game. We do it with the video. It's possible to do it during the game, but for that, you need an extra person. And with that being said, I think that maybe do not change completely if you just have that information during the game. So far, we are fine with that information after the game.
Okay, Robert, you raised your hand. You can try to talk now if you have a question. Otherwise, another question: can you talk a little bit about your pressing, especially with the traps?
The full court pressure. Well, it's another element. As I said, due to the time, we cannot go in every element or in every topic. It's a situation that we use a lot, and pretty much is to apply the principle that you saw in the 1-on-1+1, in the 2-on-2, on the 4-on-4, apply in the full court, in the open court with the 5 players. Every player has to be ready to put pressure on the ball. Every player has to be in a high triangle position. And then we have effective trap areas, which are the corners in the front court and as well in the mid-court line, those corners with the set line. And depending of the ball handling skills of the ball handler, the guy who is bringing the ball up, we execute jump switch and we execute traps. There are differences. For me, it's really difficult just with one answer in 1 minute to explain that. If we have version 2 of this coaching clinic, I will be open to break down our full court defense if there are interest on that. But as I said, pretty much in order to be organic, the same fundamentals and the same principle that we have in the half court, we apply in the full court, maybe with an extra aggressiveness in some areas in order to create a traps.
Okay, kurzer Einschub. Man kann jetzt die Stummschaltung aufheben. Ich habe noch eine Frage aus dem Chat, die würde ich erstmal zuerst nehmen. Danach könnt ihr am besten die Hand heben und dann würde ich euch dran nehmen und ihr könnt eine Frage per Mikrofon stellen. How do you keep the players motivated to keep the intensity high in the defensive practice?
Well, first thing, my job is not to motivate the players. I expect that professional players have to be always motivated. It's true that you will not always meet a motivated player. At the end of the day, habits bring identity or build up identity. And I don't think a lot about motivation. I just think about to convince your players that the system that you are executing is the best system. Of course, I'm not saying that this system is the best. They have a plus and minus. We cannot think that defensively we can catch every raindrop. We have to give up some things, but it's really important to convince our players that what we do is really effective. And for that, with drills, with methodology, as I saw in one-on-one full court, having limitation for the offense in order to build up the trust that the player trusts on what we do. We do not always accomplish to convince at 100% every player, but it's a process, and every day, every week, we work on that in order to have every player on the same page of the book.
Okay, also wer jetzt beim Mikrofon eine Frage stellen will, der kann sich auf jeden Fall selber die Stummschaltung aufheben. Ansonsten gerne noch Fragen in den Chat stellen. Solange jetzt keiner eine Frage stellt, für euch auf jeden Fall die Info von Olli. Alle Teilnehmer bekommen die Präsentation. Und falls ihr Feedback an uns habt, gerade auch bezüglich der Technik, weil das ja heute die erste Fortbildung war, schreibt uns gerne eine Mail. Ich glaube, Olli hat auf jeden Fall eine Mail dagelassen. Würden wir uns auf jeden Fall freuen, was gut geklappt hat, was nicht so gut geklappt hat. Okay, scheinbar sind keine weiteren Fragen. So it seems there are no further questions. So thanks to you, Pedro. Ja, danke fürs Zuschauen, Zuhören. Und dann blende ich in 1-2 Minuten nochmal die nächste Trainerfortbildung ein. Genau. Schreibt gerne in den Chat, sonst zur Not auch. Und dann bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you very much.
Also für die, die noch drin sind, ihr solltet jetzt nochmal die nächsten Trainerfortbildungen sehen. Wir würden uns auf jeden Fall freuen, wenn ihr dabei seid. Als nächstes haben wir hier unsere 2 Lieblingscoaches, Scotty und Martin. Freue ich mich auf jeden Fall schon drauf. Also, schönen Tag euch noch und bis bald. Ciao, ciao.